Hey guys, it's Bren, and I have something a little different for you today. If you're new to my channel, usually here I review a whole lot of candles as well as various products from Bath & Body Works, but I really like to review a lot of things. I write a lot of online reviews and whatnot, and lately I have been trying out a lot of new makeup products. So I posed the question to my Instagram followers, how would you guys feel about me throwing the occasional makeup review on my channel? And overwhelmingly people said, yes, definitely I should do it, so I'm going to take a stab at it. If you are just here for the candles, don't worry, I'm not changing the direction of the channel and you can pass this one on by. But if you do enjoy the video and would like to see more videos like this, give it a thumbs up. Now, my disclaimer is that I am not a makeup expert at all, and there are some amazing beauty bloggers out there who do great makeup tutorials, who I feel like can take the crappiest makeup and make it look pretty good. This is not that kind of video. This is more, if anything, a regular average girl who doesn't really know what she's doing, tries out new makeup products, and gives you the real talk. So the reason that I've been trying out a lot of new products lately is because I kind of realized a few months ago that I had been using a lot of the same products, the same powders, the same foundation, the same eyeshadow for probably nearly a decade and never really questioning it. I would run out and I would just go buy more of the same thing. Again, not a makeup expert. And I started thinking, you know, maybe I'm not using the best things that I could be using. One problem that I face is that I have very oily skin. The type of oily skin where I can wash my face and then an hour later run my fingers over it and they will be shiny like I just ate French fries. And the foundation that I was using was one that wasn't doing me wrong. It wasn't awful, but it also wasn't meant for oily skin. And so I started thinking, you know, maybe if I actually use something that's for oily skin, I would have better luck. Because as it was, you know, I was using a lot of powder throughout the day to combat shine and whatnot, touching it up. And I thought maybe I don't have to be doing this. So I turned to YouTube and I started watching tons of makeup reviews on YouTube, and there are a lot of them. And in particular, I was paying attention to reviews for mattifying drugstore foundation. Now, I'm not opposed to using high-end products. I do use a few of them. Concealer, now that's a whole nother video, but I do really have bad under-eye circles, so I need a good concealer. So that's something I'm willing to spend a little bit more money on, but I am not rich by any means. So I was trying to find something that was good that I could also get for under 15 bucks. Some of the most popular ones are the ones that I decided to try. I based what I was going to try on the ones that I saw people raving about here. So in this video, I am going to talk about the one that I was using. This is the one, I've probably been using this, God, for probably at least like 5 or 6 years. It's the L'Oreal True Match. Again, this was not terrible for me, but it's not for oily skin, so I just thought, hey, maybe there's something better, but I will talk about that one. Another one, again, this is a new one that I just tried. This is the L'Oreal Infallible Pro Matte. This is meant for oily skin, and a lot of YouTubers swear by this. They love it. I decided I had to try it. Another one that gets a lot of great reviews. In fact, I just saw this on like a BuzzFeed post about best drugstore makeup. The Maybelline Fit Me Matte and Poreless. Matte, Poreless, sounds like two things I would like to be. And finally, the Rimmel Stay Matte Mousse. I'd never used a mousse foundation before. It was interesting, but I have seen a lot of people rave about this too. So, how did it go? With each of these foundations, I wore them for a week or so each during the really hot days of summer when I was outside and I was sweating. And then I also wore them one day each this week. And that, of course, is the week that it wasn't as hot out, but that's when I took some pictures for you guys. So hopefully the pictures will be high enough quality that you can really see how the foundation wore, because I took them in the morning, on my lunch break, and then again at the end of the day. And I did that for all 4 of these. With each, I tried them with and without a primer, and I applied them all with a Real Techniques sponge. By the way, these are amazing, $5 at Walmart. And then with all of them, I set them afterwards with the same powder. In this case, it's not one that I love, but I love the color. Like, it's not my favorite brand as far as consistency goes with powder, but it is the best color match in any powder from the drugstore I've been able to find for me, and that is Covergirl Tru-Blend. It's a number 4, in case you're wondering. So I'm actually going to do the one that I've been wearing for a while last, the True Match. And I'm going to start with the first new one that I tried. This is the L'Oreal Infallible Pro Matte. And this one, again, people rave about this on YouTube. They love it. The one complaint, though, is that it doesn't come in a lot of colors. And I, in fact, am right between two colors. First, I bought the 102, which is the second to lightest shade, and it was a little too dark for me. So I exchanged it for the very lightest shade, the 101. So that's the one I've been testing out. But it is a little too light for me and makes me feel very ghostly. So not a huge fan of it for that reason. When I first put it on, though, it does apply nicely and it doesn't seem to be cakey and it goes on okay. No problems with the application. However, after that, it is all downhill. I was very surprised that I'm going to say hate this foundation. It was the worst one that I tried, and it gets the best reviews, so it just kills me. This did not keep me matte throughout the day. In fact, I was surprised that my old foundation, which is not for oily skin, but also from L'Oreal, kept me much matter than the one that's supposed to be for oily skin and supposed to keep you matte. Also, this wore off, and it wore off very patchy, so particularly when it was very hot out and I was outside, it would like still be like right here, then it would like wear off here, or like I'd still have it here, but it would wear off over here. Just very patchy and random where it was wearing off. And of course, I had a lot of oil breakthrough, a lot. I felt like it moved around on my face a lot too. So again, not a fan. Also, after using this for 10 days, it gave me a breakout, a pretty bad one too. And not like my typical kind of breakout, but like the kind where I had really big painful zits under the surface, and I hardly ever get that, so I feel like it had to be the makeup. So I was kind of dreading having to put it on again one more time this week, but I did it for you guys. I did it because I wanted to do the review and I wanted to snap some pictures. So here's a photo of me right after having put it on in the morning, inside in artificial light. It goes on really smoothly. It looks good when you first put it on. But here's a picture of what's going on at lunch, and you can see that it's worn off on the side of my nose really bad. That is probably because I had really bad allergies that day, so I was a little sniffly, and I probably blew my nose like a couple of times, but I wasn't sick. I wouldn't expect foundation to stand up against a cold. This was just a couple of, random moments where I may have used a tissue, and I feel like the foundation should stand up to that. But instead, it stayed on the tip of my nose, but wore off the sides of my nose. And I kind of feel like it was wearing off my cheeks too. Like you can see the line where my concealer met the foundation, and then the foundation is just gone. I was not happy with this one at all. And then by evening, it looks like I don't even have any foundation on at all anymore. And you can definitely see my pores shining bright. And like I said, I tried all of these foundations both with and without a primer. When I bought this, L'Oreal products were buy one, get one half off, so I grabbed the L'Oreal Magic Perfecting Base. I'm also really not a fan of this, but in general, I am not a fan of primers. I've seen some people say, hey, if you have oily skin, you have to use a primer. It's going to help your pores disappear. It's going to help your foundation stay on. I have found just the opposite, though, and I've seen some other people say, hey, if you have really oily skin, why are you putting more stuff on it? And that is exactly how I feel. When I used a primer, yeah, when you first put it on, your skin feels really soft, but also kind of slicker and more slippery. And so it just made all of the foundation, including this one, slide off more easily and come off even worse. So yeah, I mean, I really, really don't like this. Can't recommend it. Again, it's supposed to be for matte skin, but I felt the oiliest in this one. Go figure. That was my experience anyway. Second foundation I tried. This one, the name just makes you want to try it. Matte and Poreless. Okay, those are two things I'm looking for. And this one also got a lot of rave reviews. Now, the L'Oreal was like $13, so I feel like hugely ripped off with that. This one is only $5. Normally, I wouldn't trust a $5 foundation. That just seems like it's probably not going to be good enough, but I tried it because so many YouTubers were swearing that you would never know it was only $5. It acts like a more expensive foundation. I did not hate this one. It is a color match for me. This is a 112, and it seemed pretty close to the old one I was using, but a little pinkier than that one. But it was a good match, and when I first put it on, I really liked it. Now it's not very full coverage at all. I would say this is just a light coverage. It's not even medium, but it lets your skin show through. I just feel like I really got very oily by even after having it on for just an hour. Like I would put it on in the morning, it would look pretty good. By the time I got to work, before I even walked inside, I had to apply some powder because it was already letting oil come through. And so here it is in the morning. I took this in the car, so you are getting some natural light. But by lunch, you can see that I'm pretty shiny, and I definitely don't look poreless either. There's a lot of pores going on. So I'm just not impressed, and I really feel like my nose looks terrible, and I didn't even take a picture in the evening that day because I felt like I needed to reapply some foundation at lunch, so I kind of ruined the experiment, but it was just like already pretty much completely worn off, at least my nose area, by lunchtime. So this wasn't the worst, and it wasn't like patchy or anything like the Infallible, but it just didn't stay on very long. It let oil come through, and basically it acted like I would expect a $5 foundation to act. So it's about what it is. You get what you pay for. It's just so many people said this acted like better than $5. I felt like it performed just like it was $5. And that one also slipped off easier with a primer. So again, just I'm not a primer person apparently. So I was going to be done after that. I was sick of trying these new foundations. They weren't working out very well for me, and I was going to go back to what I was using. But there was one more that I saw in the store that I'd heard a lot about on YouTube, so I decided to give it a shot because this one was also very inexpensive. It was only about $5 as well. This is the Rimmel Stay Matte in the shade Light Ivory. This is a pretty good color match for me as well. It's not the lightest shade. It's like the second to lightest. With most makeup, I'm like the second to lightest. There's some people out there who are a little paler than me, but not many. So if I find something where I am the lightest shade, then I wonder what's going on with my redheaded friends out there who are actually paler than me. But this one is a mousse foundation, so it applies a little differently. It's kind of thicker, but it was okay. I wasn't as happy with how this one looked even right after I put it on because I felt like it clung and caked a little, like around my nose. And then throughout the day, it was interesting because I didn't have the same problems with it that I had with the Infallible and with the Fit Me, because with those, my problem was they just weren't keeping me matte and oil was coming through. With the Rimmel, I will say I felt like it kept me pretty matte. Probably the most matte out of all of them, including the old foundation that I used to use. But it gave me a host of other problems. It kept me matte, but it seemed to be cakey. It seemed to cling weirdly in certain spots. And worst of all, I felt like it really accentuated my wrinkles. It clung in my lap lines. I usually don't have a problem with that. It clung up here where I have some little lines. It made my fine lines look more defined. So I was trading one problem for another problem with this one. And so for that reason, not a fan of the Rimmel, but here are the photos that I took. In the morning, it doesn't look too bad, but you can see a little bit around the nose where it was kind of looking a little cakey, I guess you could say. By lunch, it had worn off on the sides of the nose as well, where I used the tissue, but where it stayed on, I was pretty matte. However, I felt like my wrinkles were really defined that day, so I wasn't happy with that aspect. So now, let's talk about the L'Oreal True Match. This one is for all types of skin. It is not meant for oily skin. It's the only one of these that doesn't have matte or mattifying in the name. And yet, I think I have to stay with it. I went on this adventure expecting to find something new, but instead I just found that I had been using something that was working for me all along, which is weird because I probably found this because I randomly walked into a store 6 years ago, needed some foundation, saw this display first, there was a color match, so I got it, and that's that. There was probably no rhyme or reason beyond that at all. In fact, I know there wasn't. This is in the shade N1. So these foundations have warm tones, cool tones, and neutral tones. This is neutral. The weird thing is, though, that it is the lightest shade, the one, and I feel like it's not that light. So paler girls will have an issue with it, but it's a pretty good color match for me. Like I said, the Fit Me is too, but the Fit Me was a little bit cooler and pinkier, and this is neutral. It's in the middle, and It's not perfect because I do touch up with powder a little bit throughout the day, but gosh darn it, it stays on pretty well. It holds up to my allergies, and using a tissue throughout the day, it doesn't come off the sides of my nose. Yeah, there's some oil breakthrough, but again, I'm an oily gal and I've gotten used to just using powder. I liked it better straight on my skin with just a little bit of moisturizer and not with a primer. Womp womp on the primer. Here is the photo of me in the morning right before I go into work with the True Match on, and it looks pretty smooth. I have pores, you're going to see them, but I think it looks decent. And then at lunch, it really doesn't look that much different. You wouldn't even know that. I promise, I did take this picture about 4 hours after the first one. I look perhaps a little dewier, and my nose is maybe a little red on the side. You can definitely see my broken blood vessels under my nose, but you know, still looks pretty good. By evening, it looks about how the other ones looked by 10 a.m. I mean, I'm a little shinier. There's some redness on my nose, but it's holding up pretty well. I don't know what else to say other than, I guess, if something's working for you, stick with what you know. But that all being said, if you are oily, and you've tried these and you haven't tried this one, I would say maybe give it a shot, because despite the fact that it doesn't say mattifying, it keeps me pretty matte, and it definitely keeps me more matte than the Infallible, which is just crazy. Definitely keeps me more matte than the Fit Me, and it probably keeps me about the same amount of matte as the Rimmel Stay Matte, but this is cakey and this isn't. It goes on pretty smoothly. So I like this foundation. Now, I'm willing to try something higher end to see if it might be even better. So make some recommendations for me if you would like. I'm not looking for something super full coverage, but I'm also not looking for something super light coverage either. I'm just looking for something that's going to keep me matte and not super oily. I will throw in bonus review though. I was really disappointed that I recently tried the True Match powder. As much as I love the foundation, the powder, I can't find a good color match. I actually have the N2 in the powder because the N1 just seemed way too crazy light, and the N2 is also really light, but then the N3 was too dark. So the N1 foundation is a true match for me, but the N2, which is supposed to be darker than N1, is too light. So I don't feel like the powder is a true match, and I don't feel like the powder and the foundation match. So not a fan of the powder, but this is the winner of my drugstore foundation test. Let me know what you guys think about these products, other products. Let me know what you think about my first makeup review. It took a lot of time to put together, so give it a thumbs up again if you liked it. And I'll be back with more candle reviews as usual. Thanks for watching. See you later.